welcome you all to the Tech Talk, Season 1, Episode 2. So we had a previous episode, which is on SAP IAG, Identity Access Governance. And this Tech Talk is completely based on SAP licensing models. So we covering a few of the topics with regards to SAP licensing. So we give quick intro about the SAP licensing, how it is different from the other licensing models. And we also speak about human access, digital access, and the engine-based licensing models. What it is in S/4HANA, what is called as view-based. So few of the topics were already discussed in the past, couple of other webinars, but we want to highlight it again in this webinar. And then we'll ask some questions to Mr. Sumit, who is actually part of this webinar along with me, who would be answering many of your questions with regards to the SAP licensing model, what strategies have been adapted today by SAP, when it comes to RISE with SAP or cloud adoption. We'll shoot out some questions and then hear from the expert on licensing, where I'm pretty sure Sumit can add a lot of information. He'll be definitely a value add in our Tech Talk today. Then we'll have a question and answer session, so you can use the questions option in the webinar where you can leave all the questions. End of the webinar, we'll pick up these questions and start answering each of them, and then we close it with quickly, with a probably giving a quick thank you note to all of you guys. So this is the flow of today's topic. So webinar is targeted to be from 5 p.m. IST to 6 p.m. So it's a 1 hour webinar. So I'm Raghu. So I'll be leading this webinar today, the Tech Talk, on the SAP licensing model. And then I have Sumit with me. Hey, Sumit. Good evening.
Hey, hi, Raghu. Good evening.
Sumit.
Hey. Yes, hi, Raghu. Can you hear me?
So, yeah. So, yeah. Yes, Sumit. Yeah. So for the participants who are pretty new to this webinar, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Raghu. I'm a core SAP security GRC, SME with about 25 years of experience. Executed many projects in this space, especially on the implementation of SAP GRC, then the licensing audits, the role redesign, you name any kind of project in SAP security and GRC. Maybe I have worked in at least 1 or 2 projects in my throughout my experience. And I'm also a SAP press author. So I authored 2 books. One is on SAP Access Control, which is released, which has been released 2 months back, and then the SAP Process Control Comprehensive Guide is also lined up for release on, in the month of March. End of March, you probably see this book in the market, which covers many of the topics in terms of how you can establish a robust control structure in the organization, how you can set up process control, all kind of control mechanisms. And I'm good at automation, so I typically tell my clientele that I automate majority of the task with the experience what I have in the space where I work, especially in the GRC space. I probably can give better solutions than anyone. And then I'm also a developer of multiple solutions in the SAP security and GRC space, and good at developing some kind of controls, pattern designs in the SAP ETD, then Sentinel, designing of playbooks and all, and then also some expertise in data protection, because of my CDPSC certification and then the various work I'm delivering today. And I'm also a speaker where I speak in multiple areas on these topics. Okay. So I'll quickly give it to Sumit for him to introduce, then we'll get into the today's topic. Sumit, over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks Raghu for inviting me, and it's my pleasure to be part of this Tech Talk. Thank you very much. As far as my experience is concerned, I have around 2 decades of experience into sales, account management, and going towards the CIO advisory to help them into their digital transformation journey. Worked across OEMs, majority of them spent in SAP, of course, more than 15 plus years in SAP ecosystem. And also I've worked in different OEMs like cloud, AWS, Azure, and also have recent experience into big OEMs like ServiceNow, Salesforce, and BMC too. So I hope I would be able to add values and would be able to answer your questions today. I'll be more than happy to answer anything that is related to licensing that you have. Thank you very much.
Great. I think we have a lot of questions for you, Sumit, today, especially on the integrations, on the digital access. So maybe, what I want to do is give a brief about about each of these licensing, types, and then I'll ask you some questions regarding these integrations and what kind of license limitations or requirements we have with regards to these integrations that we make with these applications. Thanks Sumit, for your intro.
Exactly. Thank you.
Great. So I already briefed about Tech Talk. So this is a new webinar series launched by Toggle Now. So we are making multiple episodes. The season 1 is focusing on SAP. And then, we have 8 episodes in this season 1, which we are trying to do it one at least in a month, but we want to make 2 episodes at least in a month so that, okay, we can cover most of the topics. So the upcoming topics would be something on data protection, data privacy, the new act is coming up on the data privacy, various regions, countries, and then we cover a lot of how AI can be used in auditing. There are some interesting topics which are lined up in the next series and episodes. So I would suggest you to follow, subscribe, and then to our newsletter so that you'll understand what is that. So, and I assume you have updated your name while joining the meeting. If not, I request you to update it correctly so that, okay, we understand who has joined and then can reach out with any additional information after the session. And you can also access our previous webinars on this link, so you can just follow us and then access all the previous webinars. Even this webinar will be uploaded onto the website so that you can watch it on demand, right? So let's get into the topic now. Today's topic is about SAP licensing. So we'll probably deep dive, and as I said, we'll go back and understand from Sumit, from his expertise on how we can help our clients or our company in optimizing the licenses, and then how Toggle Now can help in this particular space, right? So just to give a quick introduction, the licensing model in SAP is always a complex and little confusing. If you don't understand, it's not a straightforward licensing model wherein, for example, if you want to, let's say, buy Office 365, all you need to do is, okay, you say how many seats you want, you buy those many licenses, start utilizing. And when we do the SAM audit, what we do is, maybe quickly understand how many systems it has been implemented, and then your SAM audit tools will go get information from the different systems, like what applications have been installed, and then give a complete dashboard which tells, okay, how many Office 365 licenses are consumed and all. So SAP is little difficult when you a complex when you look at, it's not a straightforward way of looking at it. Is not an install base what you need to look at. So what SAP offers is basically, a different licensing model which is calculated based on how many users you have in the system, how many users you have created, what are the amount of active users you have, and even within these users, we probably know about some of the licensing categories like professional user, limited professional, or enterprise, licenses. So if you look at what actually is there, you have 100 plus predefined licensing categories. And these categories are not widely used. Maybe we know, as I said, 4 to 5 different categories which are commonly used. So 90% of the licensing categories are unknown. And without knowing how exactly these can be utilized, if you start using, there will be a lot of challenges in terms of what you can utilize versus what you are using. So that is where SAP sometimes do the audits and comes and says, okay, you are overutilizing, or you're not subscribed for these licensing categories, so you have to probably pay more, right? So typically, if you look at what kind of license types we have at a high level, you see something called as unlimited during deployment, which is called as UDD, especially for the big customers, when they cannot really understand what is their licensing requirement, and it is a huge, massive implementation of SAP. That is where SAP signs the UDD. Maybe we should ask Sumit if SAP is still doing UDD licensing at this point in time. But it used to be uh, one of the category where SAP, first 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, there will not be any restrictions on the licensing categories that the companies can use. So user can be classified under any category, but SAP will simply look at the amount of users what they have in the SAP system. So they will not really differentiate professional, limited professional, or employee type, or service, or any kind of user. Then after the next set of classifications are where you have something called as named user licenses. So initially it's called as named user. Now SAP is calling it as human access. Then you have digital access, which is the indirect usage. You start consuming the SAP application or connecting your SAP application to I mean, you're reading or writing data through various other applications, uh, right? Third-party applications like Salesforce, for example, or you might have a homegrown application that you are using, right? So these are the third-party applications that you have connected to SAP to read the data or write the data, which now is called as digital access. Then you have engine-based. Then you have core-based, which is based on HANA database, what you are using. So there are certain cores that you can use. And then now you have a new licensing category called as few, which is full user equivalent, especially on new versions. So you have the few model that SAP is looking at. So I'll detail about all these licensing categories. But remember one point, SAP operates on a trust model, which means most of the products that are available today on the SAP service portal, SAP for me portal, you can download those, install. You can, let's say, okay, you bought S4 license, for example, you can build 10 different systems, right? So SAP will not stop you from setting up more systems, but then it actually starts looking at when you start using these applications, where how many users you have created, and then how they are utilizing the system and all. So the productive systems, in case if you are setting up multiple systems, you need to notify SAP that, hey, I'm setting up these many systems, and then you need to procure the respective licenses within a reasonable time frame and then pay. It's not that you have to first purchase these licenses, named user licenses, and then you pay SAP, right? So there is definitely some level of discussion which you have to make with SAP, set the clear expectation on what you are trying to do, what systems you are setting up, how you are going to use, and then you can regulate your licenses at a later stage. All right, as I said, there are multiple licensing categories that you have to really understand, uh, which is more relevant. As I said, SAP is not a on-the-shelf software like Microsoft Office or Windows operating system that you can say I need 100 SKUs and then start using those 100. So it's always based on how you are utilizing the application, right? So when it comes to the software asset management audits in SAP, they are little different from the other software. So a typical SAM application cannot understand the licensing model or cannot audit your SAP licenses and then tell what is actually is needed for you in the system, right? So as I said, the three major categories now we have are human access, digital access, and engine based. So the difference between these three are human access, where whichever user is logging into the SAP system, that is called as a human access. So a physical person who is logging into SAP to perform some activities comes under the human access category. Then you have the digital access, where you have other applications. So it is application talking to the application, right? So let's say you have some bots that are being utilized using automation anywhere, or or you have developed certain APIs. Now you have service now. As soon as a ticket is created in service now, you want something to be happened within the SAP system. So you have developed certain API integrations, and then you're consuming it indirectly. So all this comes under the digital access, and the engine based is your HR payroll, right? So maybe if you look at your SAP HCM system, you might have only 20 people working in the SAP HR system, but then you might be running payroll for 10,000 users, right? 10,000 user data, employee data is being processed in the SAP HCM system, wherein it is called as the engine based license. The licensing is completely different when it comes to the HR payroll. So there will be a what do you say, human access, which is the named user licensing category applicable, as well as the engine based for your HR payroll processing. So how did this actually come? The new category, which has new categories that SAP has brought in. Why SAP is really looking at this is basically, if you go back to 2018, there were a few instances where there is a severe penalties with some companies. I don't really want to take any names here, but some companies have to pay huge penalties for integrating third-party applications like ServiceNow, then SuccessFactors, or sorry, Salesforce, and then they don't know what kind of implications that it has. So that is where, to simplify the entire licensing model, in April 2018, SAP has come up with a new licensing policy to completely streamline the named user licenses and the indirect usage. Now, after that, in the last couple of years, if you look at, there are a lot of new technology adoptions which have happened. So we are discussing about integrations like ChatGPT or AI-based integrations, various tools that you can integrate. You can, have certain technology platforms like BTP, or probably you want to enable a two-factor authentication using Okta. So what happens is, this is, a Facebook of machines, right? So where you integrate a lot of applications, and rather than just a human talk to an application, it is application talking to many applications, right? So this is where SAP has tweaked the entire licensing model and then simplified the licensing model, so people know what exactly they are consuming and how much they have to pay to SAP, right? Now the target 2025, this is what I understand from my experience and when talking to some of the industry leaders, is that now every software vendor is trying to streamline the existing licensing agreements. So that is where even SAP is planning to bring a, uh, an approach or streamline the existing licensing agreements completely so that everyone is on the same licensing model. One, then it also wants to get customers onto the rise with SAP, which is either you call it as rise with SAP or grow with SAP. The intention is cloud adoption. So they want people to be on cloud, simplify the licensing challenges. They don't have to really worry on what licenses they have. SAP themselves can understand what is needed, and there are a lot of tools available now which tells, okay, what is the exact licensing requirement, and help customers, right? So the first step after 2018, April 2018, is when they have got the S4 HANA. So they simplified these licensing categories. Now the primary licensing categories are only three, which is S4 HANA Enterprise Management Professional Use, then you have functional use, and then productivity use. So what a user can perform in each of these activities, this document is available in the public domain. You can download it from sap.com. I'm not going in detail on what these users can perform because that is already available. You can simply download and look at the document, or I can quickly share it after this webinar to you guys, whoever has registered. Probably you'll get those documents as well, which are pretty much available in the public domain. So it is pretty easy. Rather than looking at 100 different licensing categories, you now know that okay, you have users who perform these 10 activities fall into professional category. These 15 activities who which user is performing, he'll be falling into the productive category, and similar way the functional use as well. Now what next SAP did is that they further simplified this licensing model from a named user concept where you have 100 plus categories, and SAP can still add more and more categories. That is simplified now. In S4 HANA, they have brought it to 3 categories. Now, when you look at the S4 HANA Cloud or Rise with SAP, especially with the public cloud offerings and the private cloud offerings, SAP has come up with a new model called as FUE. It stands for Full User Equivalent, right? So what does this mean is this is a much more flexible user model, the licensing model, right? And it has basically 4 different types of users. You have the developer user, advanced use, core use, and self-service use. So what you need to do when you buy licenses is that you have to procure fuse. You can say it typically is sold in 45 fuse or 90 fuse, or some package is what you get. So you can buy 2 packages of 45 fuse each, for example, which makes it 90 fuse. And then let's assume you have one of the basis user, or a user which has got wider access. That user is called as a professional user, which consumes 1 fuse. And then if it is a functional user, it is 5 fuse is one, and then a self-service is like, okay, the on the table you can see what is the consumption of each of these fuse, right? So this is how if you look at this example now, for example, I have 30 professional users, so I'm consuming 30 fuse here. I have 25 functional users, so my consumption is 5 fuse. And then I have 300 productive users, then my consumption is only 10 fuse, which is here self-service use. So on altogether the total is 45 fuse. So I can make the necessary adjustments, okay, the way I want. In case if I want to increase my productive users, decrease my professional users, I can make those changes. Earlier, if you look at the named user model, especially in ECC and all, you don't have that capability where once you buy, let's say 100 professional licenses, you have to keep 100 professional licenses. You cannot trade in, you cannot surrender. SAP will not take any licenses from you back and then say, okay, I'm giving you new licenses. So that is the biggest problem what you have in the old model. But in the new model, it is very flexible. You can easily identify what is your consumption, and then based on that, you can make the necessary adjustments, right? So great. So how Toggle Now or Emerges can help you in this is basically we audit your existing licensing categories, what licenses you have procured. We look at your bill of materials, we optimize, we understand what is the actual usage. We tell you that, okay, these are the users you have in the system, and this user belongs to this licensing category. We map the user licensing categories correctly, and we then help you in procuring the right licenses to meet your business requirements. So typically what we do is when any of our customer wants to buy more licenses, when they want to invest more on licenses, that is exactly where we step in. We audit, we understand what is the actual utilized versus procured and the requirement, and based on that we tell the customer on what would be the right licenses that they have to procure. If it is a few model, we tell how many fews would be required for them to ensure that they are in compliant with the licensing guidelines, right? So for this, we basically utilize our own application called as Optimus. So Optimus is a unique service offering coupled with the application which we use to manage, optimize the SAP licensing assets. So any point in time, we deploy this solution to perform the SAM audit. Why we should audit is, as I said, basically, when user moves from one role to the other role, you keep the authorizations wherein, okay, you might be assigning authorizations which are of high categories. Then you have some third-party applications integrated. You don't know what kind of data is being read or what it is storing in the system. Now, if you look at the indirect or the digital usage, there are basically 9 different document types that it looks at, like, okay, what kind of postings are happening or what kind of writing or reading is happening indirectly, and based on that, SAP says that this is what you have to procure additionally for the digital access. So we basically we understand what is needed, what kind of indirect usage is being happening today. Is it really worth spending on that? What happens in certain cases is that, okay, you might have certain APIs developed which are hitting your third-party applications, wherein every time it is reading the document, a sales document or a purchase document, which is a counter. So every read you make, every time you read this data, SAP counts it as 1 or 0.5. It gives certain identifier number to that, and then it starts counting. So that is where we optimize. We understand how many interfaces you have, what all the right interfaces to be connected to SAP, what is the utilization of this interface, what kind of data it is reading, whether it is really relevant or not. We analyze and tell you that, okay, this is how you should utilize that APIs that you have, or the indirect RFCs that you are using. And then the new set of licenses that are released by SAP. So some licenses which are really relevant to you, we say instead of buying these licenses, you buy these licenses. And that is where Sumit carries vast experience and then tell you what would be the right fit for you, right? And also to ensure that you're compliant with the licensing guidelines. So this is where we need to do this. So when we perform audit of your licenses, your SAP system with regard to license management, what we do is we evaluate your contracts. We look at what kind of licenses you have procured, what a user can perform under each of these licensing contract, and then we understand what is the current requirement. Is that a audit initiated, or you want to buy more licenses, or you want to move your on-prem system to a cloud environment. So we understand your requirement. Based on that, we design certain rule sets, develop certain rule sets, make necessary adjustments, like, okay, we identify all your users, what they are performing in the system, whether they're really classified as a professional, they fall into that category or not, and make the necessary adjustments, update the classifications, give you the final report. So this is a solution based approach that we do. And certain applications where a solution cannot be the right fit, or let's say the size of the organization is small and then they want to now move on to cloud, wherein there is no typical need for a solution. That is where we bring our subject matter experts, certified licensing auditors, and then we do this audit, right? So that's a quick um, you know intro about licensing, what kind of licensing models you have, and then all these things. Now is time for me to probably raise some questions to Sumit. um, so Sumit, so these are some of the questions what I typically hear from our clients. Now we know that Rise with SAP is the buzzword. So what is your view on Rise with SAP?
So yeah, hi, thanks Raghu, and hello everyone. Raghu, it was really a nicely articulated presentation. I can say you have explained very rightly that how SAP has evolved from a perpetual license, named user license base to the cloud journey. And in fact, this answers the question itself. That my view on Rise with SAP is it's one of the well-awaited product that SAP would have been launched few years back, but it took long. But now from last 20 maybe say 2020, they have now come up with a full-fledged product of Rise with SAP, which is completely a SaaS-based model. So, and this has simplified the major issue of the customers, that is the licensing that you rightly addressed, because it was very complex in the previous scenarios where ECC was there, and many of the customers, while buying SAP, has taken for a number of licenses, and over a period of time, they understood that most of the licenses are dormant. They are not even using the products, not even using the licenses appropriately, and many we have helped many customers to optimize that, renew that and all. But the view on Rise with SAP, it's completely new product. It's not a version upgrade, it's not an enhancement pack, it's a completely new product that has been launched by SAP, and it's future ready. It's open for integrations. They have open APIs, and it's a cloud-based model. So it's a subscription model wherein the major SL of your infrastructure is taken care by SAP by themselves. I
Great.
hope this clarifies.
Yeah, perfect, Sumit. So now the next question is how customers are accepting the cloud adoption, or the cloud first program, where SAP says the net new customers can be on Rise with SAP, or existing customers can grow with SAP. So how, I mean, being in the core sales and then the CIO advisory, how do you see the acceptance of the Rise with SAP or the S4 HANA cloud platforms?
Raghu, to answer your question, see, cloud adoption is anyway started in India long back. It's not just now that has been started. As I previously said, that SAP has come up with the cloud as an option since 2014-15, when HANA Enterprise Cloud was launched. It was a very, very industry specific small cloud with lot of restrictions on that, but then they evolved over a period of time, and that's where the Rise with SAP or Grow with SAP product was completely separated and launched. So the journey, if you see, of SAP was completely towards cloud since last 2014-15 itself, started with Head. As far as customers are concerned, I have seen many CIOs today are actually looking towards cloud as a first option. Even before SAP, as you mentioned, few other OEMs or products like Microsoft, O365 is always on cloud. So you name other products, maybe Oracle, maybe you can name Salesforce, they are always on cloud. So Microsoft Dynamics, they're always on cloud. So only SAP being a very, very critical system of records and heart of any company, it took a longer period because it contains a lot of information which is very restrictive. Uh, but slowly, steadily, they got into this. And CIO, being in the cloud mindset, is adapting this cloud first program very aggressively. It is the priority for them. There are few hiccups currently from industries like pharma or healthcare where it is more compliance driven. Still they are rethinking on the cloud adoptions, but SAP has also brought in infrastructure which is GXP compliant, GMP compliant. So if you go with cloud, SAP rise with SAP for any pharma or healthcare, they already get the systems or infrastructure which is GXP compliant. So even SAP has thought on that part also. So cloud adoption is there. CIOs are anyways using AWS, Azure, and GCP long back. All major other than SAP applications were already running on the cloud. So adoption of SAP is also gearing up, and it is gearing up fast and soon. Maybe we can see by next 2027, 28, most of the people, most of the customers will be shifting to SaaS.
Okay, so probably one out of the question, from your response, what I hear, we all understand that there are a lot of initial hiccups in the cloud adoption. Let's assume one of the customer has moved from on-premise to cloud, is not happy with the cloud, and then he wants to go back to the on-premise. So is that an option for customers, or they have to continue, to be on the cloud only?
Okay. So first of all, as I told you, Raghu, this is completely a new product. So it is most of the customer today who are shifting to cloud from on-premises are taking a greenfield approach. So they are not doing any brownfield or bluefield approach wherein the migration takes place. So what they do is the legacy system is used as a cutover always. So ECC, we treat it as a legacy system. Many customers are taking an advantage of this situation and redesigning their business processes also, because they are using ECC since last 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, where the business has been moving very fast. So if you see, people are using ECC from last 15 years, but there are a lot of new businesses that has been added to the company organization, new verticals are brought in, but the system is not upgraded in that manner. So they are taking this option to start a new implementation with new age technology, that is Rise with SAP. Now after doing Rise with SAP, there might be definitely people who has that mindset of ECC will not get adapted to the new system. But this is the similar situation when they first implemented ECC when there was no system. So when there was no system, it is a change management that we come into picture, and the same change management has to be brought in for the cloud adoption also. And slowly, steadily, I'm sure this product will give more value to the customers rather than the older ECC version. There are a lot many features that has been added. There are a lot many, as you also in your talks, I have heard about new age technologies like integrations to many other applications. Gen AI, the buzzword is there. So the future ready Rise with SAP public or private cloud functionality already have AI functions incorporated where people can take use of it. So to be very point blank to your question, as of now, not seen any customers coming back till date in last 4 years. Uh, there is no option that has been actually taken in consideration as of now.
Understand. And how exactly the licensing model is between the RISE with SAP public and private models? Is it the same, or they have a separate licensing models adapted now?
No, it is absolutely same that you have shown in your previous slide. So it is FUE based, and the FUE bifurcation is exactly same for public and private. The only difference between public and private is there is a minimal threshold of licenses that you have to procure. So if you go for public, you will have to procure minimum 30 FUEs. That's where it starts. And if you go for private cloud, it is minimum 60 FUEs. That's where it starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is in multiples of 30 each.
No. So next is you can purchase 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So
that is
how great. So how a customer, like let's assume a customer is on ECC, so he wants to go with RISE with SAP or S4 HANA Cloud. So is it that okay? He has to first move on-premise application to S4, do all the conversions, and then move on to S4 HANA Cloud or RISE with SAP, or it is a straightforward thing that they can move on to the cloud?
So I think partially I have answered your question in your previous question itself. So many of the customers today are taking advantage of this situation by going with greenfield. So when we go greenfield, the ECC system or the on-prem system is considered as a legacy, and only cutovers has been taken care. So there are a couple of other roadmaps that the customer can derive. Many customers, what they do, they go with the archiving model. So the existing ECC system can be archived with the transactional data, and only the open items with last 3 years. So 1 plus 2 years data has been transferred to in the form of cutovers to the new RISE with SAP system. Or else people, because it is a compliance driven, so you, and as per the audit, you are the best person to say this. So as per the compliance and audit, you have to keep the data records for 8 years minimum, 8 to 10 years. But I've seen customers where the CFOs have been asked questions 15 years back also. So CFOs are very compliance driven in these terms, and they wanted all the transaction data to be present. So they take an option of archiving the ECC system. We can integrate the archiving systems through various other modes. So there are many SAP products also which can integrate the archiving transactional data to the new S4 HANA RISE with SAP, and you can keep the digital core very simple with the current plus last 3 years data into this. But moving from on-prem is majority that I have seen so far is, and also successful, is the greenfield approach, because you get a lot of new business functionalities and processes to be taken care also. But you can do a migration approach also, wherein we can do a lift and shift first, and then you do the optimizations on the cloud, but that is a longer run.
So how exactly the licensing model will be changed when I'm doing the on-prem to cloud migration? So let's assume in the on-premise I have some 500 licenses which are professional, limited professional, and a mix of it. So how exactly they can be converted into few model?
Okay, so it is not the conversion, again I am saying. So because S4 RISE with SAP is a completely new product itself, so the customer need to first close on the existing contract. So there is a contract termination that happens with the ECC licensing, and the new agreement of FUE, which is public or private, is been signed with SAP and customer directly. Now, how we arrive on the licenses? So it's the same old method of getting the entire user metrics. We ask the customer to give the exact count in each department. To make it very simpler, what we found out with the multiple licensing sales that we do across India and other regions also, the thumb rule says very, very simple. All your finance and procurement users should be considered as advanced, that is the professional. All your maybe a production manager or a shift manager or someone who is in R&D can be considered as your core user, that is your functional, and all others are self-service. So any data entry happening at GRN or get entry, anything happening is a self-service user. So
A simple
if
reporting user as well.
yeah, so FUE is now differentiated into these three models. One is advanced user, core user, and self-service user. So the professional, functional, and productive has been renamed to advanced, core, and self-service. And
Self-service.
this is how we convert. So what we do is we get the user matrix as per the departments. First thumb rules, all finance users goes to the FUEs, all procurement users goes to the FUEs, then comes the HR users, the functional production manager users, and then the get data entry users. That's how we bifurcate, and then we arrive on the FUE counts. Of course, not to forget the development user, because you will require at least a 0.5 FUE for one developer. So you actually consume 2 FUEs for a developer user also.
Yeah, great. Now we know that, okay, from a named user, they have converted that into a human access, and then now you have a FUE, right? So typically these are the users who log into the system, perform certain activity directly from the GUI of ERE.
Yes.
Now, what about the digital access? Now the indirect use says that SAP has added certain engine to calculate what is the digital use based on all those 9 document types.
Yes.
And now when it moves on to the cloud, you have to carry some of these integrations as well, right? So how the
Yes.
digital access is calculated today?
So it's a vast topic actually, Raghu. I think with the timing constraint, I cannot cover the entire thing, but as to give you a very basic idea, and the attendees can put on their questions and we can individually get back to them. But any person, so it is actually on the number of documents that has been posted or been accessed through the third party. So it comes into packages. So 0 to 50,000 documents, there will be one package. That is bare minimum that you have to purchase. And then it comes into 50,000 to 1 million, and then 1 million to unlimited. So that's how the packages are described for digital access. But individually, we can suggest customers on what kind of third-party integration they want. Is it, how many times a customer or a dealer or somebody else is accessing your system. All that can be taken care. But this is a bare minimum, that 0 to 50,000 is the first trench, and then 50,000 to 1 million, and then 1 million to unlimited.
Okay, so I think that triggers the need for having one more episode on digital access in
Yes.
SAP Cloud. So maybe that could be one of the topics.
Yes, I will be more than happy to do join you on that also, because with as you rightly said, with the new licensing model, there are many new things that has also come. So we have currently only touch based on the FUE, that is user based and indirect, but there is a concept of BTP that has come into picture. So it's a whole new world of licensing that is coming in, and business technology platform comes with a lot of services, and their licensing works according to what service you want to consume. So I think we can have couple of more sessions under this episodes under this sessions on one is digital access, one is BTP.
Perfect. That would be really great, to hear from people like you on digital access. So with that, I'm pretty done with my questions, but I see some of the questions from the participants. So I'll quickly go through the questions one after the other, and I'll give 5 minutes. I'll unlock the speaker. Uh, I mean, open the session for questions directly, and then maybe I think I can answer or Sumit can answer some of the questions. So the first question what I see is what is the difference between functional and productive user licenses? I think you already answered this question, right? The procurement and the finance comes under the productive, and then you have the other licensing categories. Right? Do you want to add anything else here,
No,
Sumit?
the question says about functional and productive, which is a older ECC
Let's
version
go.
terminologies. So the older version licensing completely works differently. What I gave the thumb rule is of the FUE, the new
Yeah.
versions. So in the new
Yeah.
older versions, it also connects to the T code. You know it better. So it's not that a finance user is using functional, but they also have a restrictions of T code using of the particular T codes also.
It is just not the activity or the job function, but it is based on what T code they are using and what activities they are performing in the system.
Right.
Yeah. I see one more recommendation from one of the participants. It took 20 minutes for me to figure out the link. Yeah, we have taken that. So we give the link directly in the next set of episodes while announcing the episode itself. Thanks for getting this into our notice. But I also see a question: how are FUEs calculated when users are spread across development, quality, and production systems? This could include users with different type of accesses in each of the development, quality, and production.
So it's you can go to your previous slides of bifurcation.
Yeah. But
So
I think
develop.
the FUE or any licensing category is based on the productive usage and the developer usage, right? So in case if you have a development system, that is where we look at the developers, what development activities they are doing. Now the
Yes.
development is also completely moved to the cloud on the BTP and all. You have BAS application where you do all these developments.
Yes.
Uh, right? And the advanced core or self-user, all these are based on what activities users are performing in the production system. So it doesn't matter if you have two quality systems and what users are performing there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sumit.
You're right.
Great. So there is one more question. What is the feature of annual SAP license audit program? Will it majorly focus on cloud customers?
I think it's to you, Raghu.
So the licensing,
Not in it,
yeah, audit is basically, even though let's say for example you have today procured 100 fuse, then you want to buy new fuse. Now, what is how you are going to classify that? So rather than doing this audit at a transaction code level or at a usage level, at a job profile level, we are now doing at a few level to understand what these users are doing and how classification should be. So it's probably little change in the way you're doing it, but it still continues to be something that we have to do. But down the line, SAP might come up with some automated program which tells that the actual utilization of fuse versus what is that customer should buy. Right. So the next question is on can customers choose to remain on premise even after moving to S4 HANA? I think Sumit, you can answer this question.
Currently the entire push is towards cloud from SAP globally. It's not only India, it's globally. So Officially, you might not find dates on the websites and all, but the communication that is going on is by 2027 or 27-28 maximum, the on-premises would be sunsetting. So the on-premises licenses and no new development or no new technology has been added to the on-premises version of SAP. It may, even though it is even though if it is S4HANA. So there is no new technology or nothing has been added to the on-premises. All the investments and R&D is going towards cloud. So it's always better to be fast adoption we can do, so the users are actually useful on the new technology, and by the time SAP finishes 2027-28, we are ready to do new adoption of new technologies and matured usage of the system.
Yeah, that's great. I think we covered all the questions, so we still have a couple of minutes. So let me unmute everyone. So anyone wants to quickly raise a question, we are happy to answer that. Yeah, now I think you can unmute yourself and raise any questions.
Thank you, Raghu. So this side, Vinod Sharma from Hero Future Energy. And right now we are on a S4 HANA suite, and application is still running on ECC. Now we are planning to come out from the ECC and planning to go on a S4 or a RISE. So you rightly mentioned that we need to take the cutoff and have to migrate only a part of data, 1 + 2 or 1 - 2, whatever we decided. So how difficult and what the timeline it will take to it's start as a greenfield, or it will be the brownfield if we go for S4 SAP RISE actually?
Yeah, Sumit, want to answer this question?
I will take it up, Raghu. So thank you, Vinod sir. Thanks for this question. As I earlier also said, this is the experience that we have seen. So we have seen most of them going with a greenfield approach, wherein it is absolutely a new implementation. So if we talk about new implementation, as in the ECC days, it will not take 8, 10, 12 months, but with the correct mindset, and we know what we want in the new systems, you can take a timeline of 5 to 6 months as go live and a month of hyper support, and we can do the similar activities of cut over data and everything, and it can be completed, Vinod sir. So it is as simple as going as a new greenfield approach and considering your ECC as your legacy system.
We also have a SAP BPC application. What about that? What we do after migrating to SAP RISE?
Yes.
How will do the consolidation reporting?
Right. Sorry, sir. You're talking about the BPC as a product. Yes.
Yeah.
BPC as
we have that product right now.
Right. So while we do your sizing, when we start your evaluation of getting into RISE with SAP, we will factor in all the peripheral products of SAP also that you currently have. So as you rightly said, BPC. There are many new functionalities in the RISE with SAP private cloud model, where the group reporting is a inbuilt functionality wherein you can have your 25 entities in reporting can be done within the system itself. You don't have to purchase any other new licenses for that. But if you want to go to advanced planning and budgeting, then you have to go for SSC, that is SAP Analytics Cloud. So SAP Analytics Cloud comes in two portions. One is the Analytics Cloud, where you can do your dashboarding, and another is the planning, advanced planning and budgeting, which is a part of SSC now. So we need to purchase that product. So your BPC functionalities will be transferred to SSC, that is SAP Analytics Cloud.
So means we need to shut both the application. We need to shut the BPC as well.
once the implementation is done here, you can shut that application.
And ECC we need for the futuristic purpose as a reference. ECC platform we need to continue.
ECC, as I said, I have touched base. It is a compliance, so you need to have at least 8 to 10 years data, transactional data. So there are two ways to it. We have done multiple options. We have a customer who has done the entire ECC has been archived, and the link has been created with the new S4 HANA, wherein we have created GUI screens to pull the data from your ECC archival system, because that system is only required for reporting purpose. You will not, you will either have that for reporting, compliance reporting, or doing some predictive analytics. So we can just pull in the data in S4 HANA from an archival system. In that way, you can diminish your ECC system also. If you want the box, ECC box to be kept, you need to have a minimal 5 licenses small box of ECC. You can keep that, and that ECC license will run in so you have to maintain that server at the back end.
So it means we have to pay AMC cost of ECC. Same
For
time
the,
we also need to pay SAP RISE licensing.
If you go, so this is one option. As I told you, sir, there are 3 options to it. One is you can archive, wherein your ECC completely goes away. You don't have to pay anything. Second is you can keep the ECC with minimal licenses, and you have to pay the license fees and AMC for ECC. Third is SAP has come up with something known as SAP HANA Cloud. So while taking the license, we also factor in your database size, and a HANA Cloud can be purchased as a part of your BOM, and entire data of your ECC can be shifted to HANA Cloud. So your ECC is completely diminished, and you don't have to pay anything for your ECC in that matter.
Okay, got it.
Sumit, in the interest of time, I think we have a couple of other questions, but we can always connect back, on this particular topic with Vinodji.
So Vinodji, if you don't mind, we can connect individually also. If you can drop your details, we can have a complete sessions with you.
I think my detail is already there with Toggle now. We connected in past as well. With Shahrukh is a person who is interacting with us, right? Raghu?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we will get in touch with you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's take one last question now. So there is a question which says, my present customer is on ECC. What is the cost of moving to cloud? This is not a customer in India. So that depends on multiple factors. Maybe if I can quickly add it, it depends on number of users, it depends on database, it depends on what kind of landscape that you want to go with. Is it a complete S4 HANA, or you want SAC, or what is that you need? So again, this particular question, I think I can discuss separately, or when we actually do one more episode on cloud, the migration to cloud and the licensing impacts in the next set of episodes. We probably can focus more on this particular topic.
Raghu, this is Ram here. This is the question from my side. So I will talk to you tomorrow on this.
Sure.
This is one of my customers. So anyway, you're interacting with me. So I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sure. Anytime.
Ram,
anytime.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
So I think it's time to say thank you and bye to everyone. Thanks for joining, and we'll do much more interesting episodes in the coming months. Thanks again, and hope to connect to you guys very soon. Thanks, Sumit, for your time.
Thank you, Raghu. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you. Thank you.